My wife whispered, "I'm in love with someone else." So I quietly pulled $80,000, canceled her dream home, and let her life collapse without me. I was 34, a software engineer with a stable career, a comfortable income, and a lifestyle rooted in simplicity rather than flash. I wasn't one for lavish spending or lavish drama. I preferred structure, planning, and stability. My belief had always been that if you're prepared, financially, emotionally, and mentally, then no storm can really take you down. That's how I'd lived my life, and that's how I'd navigated my marriage. My wife, Tessa, was 30. We met when she was still finishing up fashion school while working retail. She had this fire in her eyes, a spark that drew me in. It wasn't just beauty or charm. It was her determination, that fierce drive to build something of her own. She dreamed of launching a fashion brand from the ground up, and I found that beautiful, inspiring even. Over the 6 years we spent together, 4 of them married, I backed her dreams with everything I had. I paid off her student loans, covered rent during the dry spells between her freelance gigs, and bit by bit, I poured over $80,000 into her startup. Not as a gift, not out of obligation, but because I believed in her vision. She was the dreamer. I was the planner. While she wove magic through designs, mood boards, and creative bursts, I handled the numbers. I filed taxes, managed credit, paid bills, and ensured we had insurance. I did it quietly, content to let her shine, thinking we were a team, that while she chased the sky, I was her ground. But somewhere along the way, the ground beneath us shifted. It started as a subtle drift. At first, it was just an increase in weekend girls' trips that left at awkward hours, or work events that didn't sound quite right. She started wearing new clothes, not ones I'd seen her buy, and she'd turn her phone screen away when texts lit up. I noticed it all, not because I was possessive, but because it was different. She began snapping at small things. The sparkle in her eyes that once looked at me with admiration was fading. Our dinners grew quiet. Jokes fell flat. Sex became an afterthought, maybe once a month, and even then, she seemed distant, detached, as if her body was present, but her soul was somewhere else entirely. Still, I said nothing. I wasn't the jealous type. I was the calculating one, observant, analytical, and careful with emotion. I let her drift, thinking maybe it was a phase. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, even when my gut whispered that something was breaking beneath the surface. Then came the idea of buying a house. She found a modern place she loved, glass walls, open layout, tucked in a quiet neighborhood that made her eyes light up. She said she wanted it in her name. "Just this one thing that's mine," she said, her voice steady, like it was a symbolic gesture of independence rather than a red flag. I didn't push back. I suggested we do the loan in both names, for simplicity, for protection. She agreed reluctantly. I filed the paperwork, quietly adding legal protections for myself. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I trusted myself enough to always plan ahead. 6 months later, she sat across from me at dinner. Just leftover takeout, the TV humming in the background. Nothing special about the night, until she put her fork down, looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "I'm in love with someone else." Just like that. Not a flinch, not a quiver in her voice. She said it like she was commenting on the weather. I didn't respond right away. I finished chewing, took a sip of water, then looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't crying. She wasn't regretful. She looked relieved, like a weight had been lifted. I just nodded and said, "Good to know." That was all. Her face twitched. She was expecting something dramatic. Yelling, accusations, maybe tears. Instead, I just stood up and started clearing the table. She watched me for a minute, completely disoriented. Then quietly mentioned she'd be staying with a friend, that maybe some space would help. I told her that was fine. What she didn't know was that I already knew. I'd seen the texts months ago when she left her laptop open. The guy was a photographer she met at a workshop last fall. She called him a rare soul. Said he really sees me. I'd read every word without reacting. I just stored it away, like a file I might need one day. That day had come. The moment she walked out with her overnight bag, I sat down at my desk. Just me, the glow of my laptop, and a plan that had been building silently for months. I pulled up the mortgage application first. We hadn't signed yet, but I was on the pre-approval, which meant I could still back out. One call to the broker the next morning, and I withdrew. Told them plans had changed. They understood. Without my credit and income, Tessa didn't qualify. By noon, the deal was dead. Next came the startup money. That $80,000 wasn't just thrown in blindly. I'd had a legal agreement drawn up when she asked me to invest. It stated that I could pull my funds any time before a marriage certificate was official. She signed it without reading beyond the first paragraph. That same night, I sent the notices to her vendors, pulled the funds, and notified the payment processor. Within 24 hours, orders were halted. Suppliers paused. Production froze. Then I logged into my HR portal and removed her from my health insurance. We weren't technically married yet. Paperwork was pending. So she was on as a domestic partner. I canceled it. Immediate effect. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I was done carrying the weight alone. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even heartbroken. I just felt clear. By the third day, I was gone. I packed a bag, rerouted my mail to a P.O. box, and checked into a furnished rental on the other side of town. No grand exit. No godbis. I just disappeared from her narrative. I let her have the space she said she needed. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was him, the photographer. His voice cracked as he spoke, trying hard not to sound desperate. He said things had escalated, that Tessa was spiraling, that she was crying nonstop, accusing him of destroying her life. He asked if I could talk to her, help her see reason, maybe even let her stay with me until she stabilized. I didn't respond. That evening, my doorbell camera lit up. She was standing there in an old hoodie, the one she used to wear on lazy Sundays. Her face was wet from tears. She knocked, sat on the steps, then left. Later, I got a text. I made a mistake. He's not who I thought he was. He laughed at my mood board, said my brand was a joke. Another message came, then another. Please talk to me. We can fix this. I miss you. But there was nothing left to fix. The next morning, more calls. Then an email. It was long, apologies, rationalizations, nostalgia. She missed our routines. The way I folded her laundry. The way I remembered her coffee order. She thought I'd always be there while she figured things out. She thought I'd wait. But while she had been falling for someone else, I had been slowly letting go. She didn't just cheat on me. She abandoned me. Quietly, inch by inch, until I was just a background character in my own marriage. And now, with her dream house gone, her startup in ruins, her health insurance canceled, she was left to face a reality she hadn't planned for. She thought I'd be her safety net. I wasn't. She sent one final text that night. You're trying to ruin my life. I read it and whispered into the silence. I didn't ruin your life. I just stopped financing the version of it where I didn't matter. Mutual friends started calling. Some were angry. Some were curious. I told them the truth. No drama. No lies. Just the facts. Some were shocked. Others admitted they'd seen it coming. A week later, I got word from her former business partner. The startup had been shut down officially. No orders.
No suppliers.
No investors. 2 months after that, someone mentioned she'd quietly moved back in with her parents.
No social media farewell.
Just silence. As for me, I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just lived. I found a new place. Adopted a dog. Took up hiking. I got my peace back. And that was all I ever wanted. If you've ever been treated like a backup plan, remember this. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't fight for closure. It's walking away silently while their world collapses without you. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories like this. And remember, never be someone's afterthought.